Discover the miraculous and inspiring journey of the Old Testament, God's divine plan revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieged Jerusalem, taking many captives, among whom was Daniel, of noble lineage. This young man, upon whom the sun of Jerusalem once shone bright, found himself enveloped in the splendor of Babylon, a dazzling yet hollow empire. Towering structures of gold loomed over him, but his heart longed for the holy city, bathed in the presence of Yahweh. Daniel's resolve, however, was steadfast. Glimmers of faith still guided him through a culture that displaced and sought to erase his identity as a child of God. Within the jeweled halls of the Babylonian palace, feasts were laid, a feast of rich meats and wine flowing like rivers, all offered to the young captives to nourish their bodies and minds for service in the king's court. But Daniel's eyes, filled with a bright gaze and determination, saw a spiritual void beneath the sumptuous layers. The customs of Babylon demanded a surrender of their faith, a compliance with kingly commands that threatened to drown their covenant with the Almighty. With earnest prayer, birthright conviction stirred in Daniel's soul, shaping his bold resolves. Facing the chief official, Daniel proposed a challenge: test your servants for 10 days. Let us eat only vegetables and drink water. His heart whispered that this defiance was not just an act against royal decree but an invitation for God's glory to manifest in their midst. Reluctance danced in the official's gaze, yet curiosity won out. Unbeknownst to him, this trial would not merely test their appetites but showcase God's miraculous power. As the days unfolded, Daniel and his companions rejoiced in the simplicity of their meal. Laughter flowed freely, untainted by the burdens weighing heavy upon their hearts. When they finally appeared before the king, their appearances defied all expectations, stronger and more radiant than those who indulged in royal fare. God had gifted them wisdom and health, illuminating their path amidst Babylon's darkness. Yet, soon they were thrust into the heart of turmoil. Nebuchadnezzar's troubling dreams haunted his nights, compelling him to summon the wise men of Babylon. "Interpret my dreams," he demanded fiercely, but no man could fulfill such a decree without revealing the unseen, a task that ignited terror among the seers. Their frantic whispers echoed, proclaiming desperation: no man can meet this decree. In that moment of stark despair, Daniel's faith flickered like a candle amidst the chaos. He rallied his friends, and together they sought the God of heaven in fervent prayer, trusting that he would reveal the mystery hidden within the king's dreams. As night enveloped the land, God answered, unfolding his divine revelation to Daniel, filling him with understanding. Morning dawned anew, casting a light not just upon the sky, but upon Daniel's heart. As he stood before Nebuchadnezzar, trembling yet resolute, he knew the weight of his words transcended his own desires. "O king, the mystery has been unveiled," he declared, as God's presence surged through him, igniting hope amidst Babylon's despair. The interpretation emerged not just as a deciphered riddle, but as a testament to the sovereignty of the Almighty who can silence kings. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. This revelation, however, would not be the pinnacle of their challenges. Soon, the fiery furnace awaited Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, a trial of faith that would demand the very essence of their devotion. Would they trust in the God who had already proven his deliverance, or would their flames consume their fervor? The tension thickened in the air, pulling at their hearts and weaving a thread of divine purpose in the land far from home, a land yearning for the flicker of hope that only faith in Yahweh can bring forth. Now it came to pass that in days of waiting and anticipation, a decree was issued by King Nebuchadnezzar, commanding that all peoples, nations, and languages of his vast empire bow down and worship a golden image. This image, an abomination to the God they served, rose majestically in the plain of Dura, reflecting the sun's brilliance, enticing all who beheld it to surrender their allegiance to the Most High. Amidst the throngs of people, filled with trepidation, the hearts of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah stirred with the fire of conviction. They gazed at one another, their voices resolute. "Shall we forsake our God for this lifeless creation?" They whispered fiercely, their faith anchored deep within. As the music filled the air, a cacophony of sound that vibrated through the souls of men, the command rang out, "When you hear the sound of the trumpet, the lute, the harp, the bagpipe, and all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the image." Yet with steadfast hearts, the three friends remained upright, their gazes set toward heaven. Then, the Chaldeans, those envious advisers, spoke with malicious intent to the king, saying, "There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, whom you have arrogantly named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men do not heed your command, they will not bow down." Nebuchadnezzar's fury ignited. He called them forward, his rage palpable. "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods nor worship the golden image I have set up? Now if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of music, to fall down and worship the image, good. But if not, you shall be cast immediately into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God that will deliver you from my hands?" With courage birthed from their faith, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah responded with unwavering conviction, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, we will not serve your gods nor worship the golden image." The deliverance they proclaimed bore witness not merely to their resolve but to the power of their God, who had saved their forefathers from the jaws of death and the deep waters of despair. In their steadfastness, they confronted the king with the promise of divine intervention accompanied by the peace that transcends understanding. In that moment, Nebuchadnezzar's countenance fell, and his rage turned towards vengeance. He commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter, instilling terror among the attendants as they prepared the fiery tomb for the faithful. Bound and thrown into the inferno, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah knew that though they faced the fire, they were not alone. The presence of the Almighty God enveloped them, promising not deliverance from the furnace, but deliverance through it. Outside the flames, King Nebuchadnezzar watched, bewildered, as the fire blazed ferociously, yet did not consume the faithful. He stood up in haste, exclaiming, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? Look! I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." At that moment, a divine revelation dawned upon the king. He summoned them forth, and as they stood before him, untouched, the radiant presence of God shimmered upon them. And Nebuchadnezzar declared, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him." Thus, the faith of 3 young men served as a beacon of hope in a darkened world, marking another chapter in God's sovereign plan. But what lay ahead would unveil deeper depths of divine purpose, revealing truths that stretched beyond the horizon of their understanding. The heart of Babylon trembled, as the hand of Yahweh wrote upon the walls of history, beckoning the world toward his eternal glory. Then Nebuchadnezzar, filled with a mixture of awe and reluctance, ordered his attendants to draw near. Trembling, they approached the flames, their faces betraying both fear and fascination as they beheld the miraculous scene before them. "Come forth," he commanded, his voice trembling yet firm. "Servants of the Most High God, step out of the fire." Amidst the collective gasps of the gathered multitude, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah emerged from the furnace, their garments unscorched and their skin untouched by flame. Not even the smell of smoke lingered upon them, for the very presence of their God had shielded them. The king, astounded, declared, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him." The mouths of the onlookers fell agape at the display of divine power. They could hardly comprehend how 3 men had defied death itself, only to emerge victorious, as if the fire had been but a veil of shimmering light surrounding them. With newfound conviction, Nebuchadnezzar decreed, "Therefore, I make a decree, any people, nation, or language that speaks against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, for there is no other God that can deliver after this sort." Thus, by this divine encounter, the king's heart was softened, and whispers of the Almighty began to echo throughout the land of Babylon, instilling a reverent fear of the Lord among its people. In a moment of reflection, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah stood together, their eyes lifted to the heavens, each whispering a silent prayer of gratitude to the one true God. Their faith, tested by fire, had emerged as pure and radiant as gold. They understood that God's purpose for their lives extended far beyond a mere escape from danger. It was for the glory and testimony of His greatness among the nations. In time, their remarkable deliverance bore profound fruit. The Gentiles began to turn their hearts to the God of Israel. As the news spread far and wide, many sought to learn of the God who could deliver from the flames, who provides refuge and strength in times of trial. The faith of 3 young men transformed not only their own destinies but also ignited a spark of hope among those who had forsaken their covenant. But unbeknownst to them, there rested deeper truths entwined within this miraculous event. For the Lord had a purpose that reached beyond the immediate, a tapestry woven across generations. Each event orchestrated against the backdrop of His overarching plan, where faith would ultimately reconcile the hearts of many to their Creator. In the quiet moments beyond the flames, as the people of Babylon reflected upon these extraordinary occurrences, the whispers of prophecy began to stir anew, hinting at a larger, divine narrative. The heart of the Most High was set to unveil a champion whose footsteps would lead many nations into the light of truth. For God was not finished, His sovereign will was about to unfurl in ways that no one could yet imagine, beckoning all humanity toward the hope of a fulfillment yet to come. Would they be ready when the hour of revelation arrived? Then in the days that followed, the heart of King Nebuchadnezzar was stirred, and he sought a deeper understanding of the God whom Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah served. In his palace, he called forth the wise men and magicians of Babylon, yet their words fell as empty echoes upon his ears. For he had witnessed the might of the Most High, and the wisdom of men could not fathom the depths of divine truth. As he pondered these things, the king had a dream of vision heavy with portent, that left him shaken and troubled. He summoned all the wise men of Babylon, bidding them to reveal the interpretation of his dream. "If you can unlock the meaning," he proclaimed, "great rewards shall be yours, but if you cannot, your very lives will be forfeit." They gathered, trembling before the king, yet all were confounded by the dream's mystery. They spoke among themselves, seeking to unravel the enigma but to no avail. In a moment charged with divine inspiration, Daniel, a servant of the living God, stepped forward. The Spirit of the Lord rested upon him, and he declared unto the king, "Let not your heart be troubled, O king. For the God of heaven who reveals secrets has made known to me your dream." The chamber hushed, the king narrowing his gaze upon Daniel as he recounted the vision. "I saw a great statue, its head of gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet part iron and part clay. Then a stone, cut without hands, struck the image upon its feet and broke them to pieces, scattering them like chaff before the wind." Nebuchadnezzar's breath caught as Daniel continued, "This signifies the kingdoms of men, each decaying over time, but the stone is the kingdom that shall never be destroyed. It shall consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." Humbled before the might of God, the king fell upon his face, proclaiming, "Truly, your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings." He knew that the dream spoke of nations yet to come, and his heart trembled at the realization of God's sovereign hand over history. Yet deep in his heart, a conflict raged, a silent battle against pride that sought to regain its foothold. Nebuchadnezzar resolved to build a golden image, one that would signify his own power and authority, and he commanded the people of Babylon to bow before it, craving the adoration that belonged to the Almighty. When Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah learned of this decree, their hearts were afire with conviction. "We will not bow," they murmured to one another, "for our God is greater than the empires of men. He has proven his power in the flames, he shall deliver us again, if he wills." Their refusal to worship the golden idol stirred wrath in Nebuchadnezzar, who summoned them before him. "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or worship the image I have set up?" he demanded, his voice trembling with fury. Filled with the boldness of the Spirit, the three replied, "O King, we have no need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us, and he will rescue us from your hand. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold." The tension in the air crackled with anticipation. What would become of them now? As the flames danced fiercely behind the iron doors of the furnace, the king's countenance darkened. His decision lay heavy upon him, for with it rested the fate of these faithful servants of the Most High. But little did Nebuchadnezzar know, God had woven a destiny beyond his comprehension, one that would resonate through ages, revealing his glorious plan for redemption among the nations. For the hour of revelation was drawing near, a time when every knee would bow and every tongue confess that the Lord is God. Would the king's heart finally yield to such truth? Then Nebuchadnezzar, filled with rage, commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. His anger had blinded him to the truth he had just witnessed, and he ordered some of his strongest soldiers to bind Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They came forth, their faith unwavering, each knowing that he might perish for the sake of the God of Israel. As the soldiers bound them, the king urged, "Now is your final chance. Bow before the image I have set up, or your end will be in this fiery death." Yet the 3 men stood resolute, their spirits lifted by the assurance of divine presence. "We will not serve your gods, O king," they declared, their voices ringing clear in the great hall. They were men of courage and conviction, truly believing that their God would rescue them, yet knowing that his will may not align with their own desires. The king's face twisted in fury, and he commanded the guards to throw them into the flames. With great haste, the men were cast into the fiery furnace, their cries echoing throughout the hall. The heat was so intense that the soldiers who threw them in were consumed by the flames and fell dead. As the flames roared and the smoke rose, a deafening silence enveloped the courtyard, leaving Nebuchadnezzar in an anxious stillness. But behold! As he looked upon the furnace, his heart quaked in awe. He witnessed not 3 but 4 figures walking unscathed amid the flames, unbound and unharmed, yet they did not burn. "What is this?" Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed, filled with a bewilderment that pierced through his heart. "Did we not cast 3 men into the fire? But I see 4 men, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." In that moment, the king's spirit was shaken, for the presence of the Almighty was among them. 2 worlds collided as heaven touched the earth, revealing God's power over the fire and death. Nebuchadnezzar approached the furnace, calling out, "Servants of the Most High God, come out." His voice trembled not with rage but with reverence for the one true God. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah stepped forth from the furnace, the fire's grip broken, their garments untouched, and there was no smell of smoke upon them. The nobles and officials, who had gathered, stood in amazement. Nebuchadnezzar's heart was now filled with a newfound recognition. The faith of these 3 had set a divine proclamation into motion, causing the mighty king to decree, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. No other God can save in this way." And so a great transformation began to unfold within the heart of Nebuchadnezzar, who now clamored to understand the sovereignty of the Most High God. The kingdom bore witness to this monumental act, for the faith of 3 men had ignited a flame of reverence towards the one true God among the nations. Yet, as their story spread throughout Babylon and beyond, a whisper of destiny emerged. For even in this moment of triumph, Nebuchadnezzar was to face further trials that would lead him deeper into the cavernous depths of God's wisdom. What lay ahead for the great king, and how would he respond to the God who reveals? Would this miraculous deliverance lead to a heart fully transformed and ever yielded to the sovereignty of the Lord? The unfolding of God's plan, with its mystery and promise of redemption, was just beginning. As the smoke settled and the astonished nobles gathered about the three men, Nebuchadnezzar, his heart still racing with wonder, beckoned them closer. "Come hither, servants of the Most High God. The miracle of your deliverance has not only saved you but also opened my eyes to the authority of your God. What meaneth this?" Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah approached with humility, still radiating a peace that surpassed all understanding. "O King," Hananiah spoke, his voice steady and firm, "our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the fiery furnace, and he delivered us from your hand, O King, but know this, we will not worship the golden image which thou hast set up." A murmur of astonishment rippled through the gathered assembly, the officials staggered by the audacity and courage displayed before the sovereign of Babylon. In that moment, Nebuchadnezzar felt a conflict stir within him. His heart, once hardened by pride and control, began to soften beneath the weight of his own disbelief. He had witnessed, firsthand, the power of a God who defied the very laws of nature. Kneeling before them, he whispered, "Surely, your God is the true God." "May my heart not forsake the truth I have seen," he mused. Yet still, the shadow of arrogant superiority lingered in his mind. He rose and declared, "I shall make a decree that every people, nation, and language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, for there is no other God that can deliver after this sort." With a renewed zeal kindled in his spirit, Nebuchadnezzar gave praise to the God of Israel before the assembled multitude, and in that proclamation, faith began to sow its seeds among his people. Yet the road ahead was fraught with spiritual peril. As days turned into weeks, Nebuchadnezzar found himself tormented by a recurring dream. The nature of the dream was troubling, revealing a great statue, a head of gold, shoulders and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet part iron and part clay. Each night, as deep sleep overtook him, he awoke in dread, pondering its meaning. He called for his magicians, enchanters, and sorcerers, demanding that they interpret the visions that gnawed at his mind. But none could answer, they wrung their hands, panicking, for the obscurity of the dream bound them. In despair, the king sought insight, and in the midst of his turmoil, word came to him of a young man from the captives of Judah, Daniel, whom he had learned was filled with the spirit of the gods. "Bring him to me," he commanded. The king, with a heart both yearning and troubled, awaited Daniel's approach, wrestling within himself as to whether he should lay bare his fears. For little did he know, this young man carried within him the revelation of the Almighty, destined to reveal the very sovereignty of God that would shake the foundations of kingdoms and alter the course of history. As Daniel stepped forth, courage shone in his eyes, and the king's spirit trembled with anticipation. For the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was about to unfold a revelation that would transcend the dreams and hopes of kings, encompassing the very destiny of nations. And in this appointed moment, would Nebuchadnezzar's heart, already softened to the wonders of the divine, be prepared to grasp the profound depth of God's sovereign plan? The tapestry of heaven was weaving threads that would lead him further into the glorious mysteries of faith. As Daniel entered the royal court, a hush fell over the assembly. With the weight of heaven upon his shoulders, he stood before King Nebuchadnezzar, a vessel for the divine mysteries. The king, whose brow was furrowed with anxiety, searched Daniel's eyes for an answer, his heart beating like a trapped bird in a cage. "O Daniel," he cried, "art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof?" Daniel, filled with divine wisdom, replied, "O king, the secret which thou hast demanded cannot be performed by the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, nor the soothsayers. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to thee what shall be in the latter days." The king leaned forward, his breath held in anticipation, as Daniel continued. "Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these: as thou wast upon thy bed, thoughts came to thee of what should come to pass hereafter, and he that revealeth secrets maketh known unto thee what shall come to pass. With clarity, Daniel recounted the dream. "Thou sawest a great image, whose brightness was excellent, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay." Nebuchadnezzar's face grew pale as Daniel explicated the fate of the mighty statue. "Thou sawest, until that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold, broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth." In the silence that enveloped the throne room, Daniel's words echoed like trumpets of fate, trembling through the hearts of all who listened. Nebuchadnezzar's mind reeled, trying to grasp the grand significance of the dream and its portentous interpretation. "Thou art this head of gold," Daniel declared with steadfastness, "and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise." But then, with urgency, Daniel revealed the transcendent truth: "In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." A ripple of awe washed over Nebuchadnezzar as he grappled with the revelation of God's sovereign plan. His heart, though softened by divine intervention, struggled under the weight of his pride and power. Yet Daniel, emboldened by the Spirit of God, concluded, "This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king." As the words sank into the soul of the king, a spark of hope flickered in the midst of his turmoil. With each revelation, the celestial realm ensured that God's purpose would tread across the annals of history, reshaping destinies far beyond the Babylonian Empire. And so, the meeting of worlds unfolded, as the power of heaven descended upon the mortals of earth, shaping a narrative that would herald a kingdom that truly conquers all. What deeper implications lay ahead for both Nebuchadnezzar and the fate of the nations? The story of redemption and divine sovereignty was far from complete, awaiting the unveiling of God's prophetic design. As the echoes of Daniel's interpretation faded into the heavy silence of the court, the heart of King Nebuchadnezzar wrestled with the enormity of what had been revealed before him. In that moment, the majesty of the heavens and the frailty of earthly kingdoms stood in stark contrast, as the king felt the weight of the prophecy settle upon his shoulders. "Truly," Nebuchadnezzar whispered, "thy God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets. For thou hast been able to reveal this secret." With a trembling hand, he gestured to his courtiers, beckoning them closer. Yet, deep within him, pride flickered a smoldering ember against the truth laid bare. Then the king, forsaking his earlier disquiet, commanded that incense be brought forth to honor Daniel. "Let the gifts of the kingdom be bestowed upon this man," he declared. "His wisdom surpasses that of all the sages of Babylon." Daniel, however, was not swayed by the adulation of men. With humility and fervor, he replied, "O king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. I desire not riches nor honor from thee, for the interpretation is not by my power, but by the grace of the Most High God. He has shown mercy to thee, providing a glimpse into the future." A moment of deep silence enveloped the chamber as even the mightiest of Babylon stunned themselves into reverent awe. Then Nebuchadnezzar paused, eyes widening whilst contemplating the implications of what lay ahead. "What then shall I do?" he pondered aloud, the question manifesting not merely as a reflection of curiosity but as a manifestation of the king's increasingly troubled spirit. Daniel, emboldened by the Spirit, replied, "Exercise humility, O king. Acknowledge the sovereignty of the Most High, and align thyself to his will. For the greatness of thy kingdom will come to naught if thine heart remains vain." In this call to submission echoed a profound truth: kingdoms built upon pride and power are fated to crumble, while those which seek God's favor shall endure forever." Nebuchadnezzar nodded solemnly, the words of the prophet stirring his soul. Yet, even as understanding blossomed, temptation lingered like a shadow. As days passed, the king pondered over his newfound insights. He summoned the wise men of Babylon not to query further into dreams but to relay the truth of the visions. "Turn your eyes away from earthly pursuits," he commanded them. "Behold the hand of God at work." Yet, the hearts of his advisers hardened. "What care we for the declarations of one whom we deem lesser?" They scoffed in hushed tones. Unbeknownst to Nebuchadnezzar, this pride would lead to the crafting of a golden image reflective of his own dominion, a defiance against the very God who had revealed to him secrets of the ages. And so, the battle for the king's soul raged on, a tumultuous affair between divine revelation and human pride. The heavens watched as Nebuchadnezzar stood at the crossroads, and the destiny of nations teetered on the precipice of his sovereign choices. As the days turned to weeks, a decree fell from the throne, a call to worship his own image in defiance to the true God. The tension was palpable across Babylon. The kingdom now stood at a critical juncture. Would the king put faith in his own design, or bow before the Lord of all? But what Nebuchadnezzar failed to recognize was that the stone cut without hands was not yet finished in its purpose. The great mountain loomed, with each shifting moment unearthing the plans woven by the fingers of the Almighty. And in this tension of choices, hope whispered. The vision was but the beginning of a greater unfolding, a testament to God's relentless pursuit of hearts seeking and surrendering to his mighty will. What further revelations awaited the king in the unfolding tapestry of divine purpose? The story of God's eternal kingdom was just beginning to take shape, shaping destinies through obedience, heartache, and choice, awaiting the inevitable crescendo of his perfect plan. As the sun rose over Babylon, casting golden rays across the city, the air was thick with anticipation and dread. King Nebuchadnezzar, as proud as he was powerful, took his place upon the royal throne. The golden image had been forged, a monstrous idol crafted in his own likeness, and in the days that followed, he sought to seal his dominion over the hearts of his people. He summoned the governors, officials, and mighty men from all over the kingdom for a grand assembly. The news of the great image had spread like wildfire, and now the echo of his decree filled every corner of Babylon. At the sound of the music, he proclaimed, "All shall fall down and worship the golden image which I have set up, but whosoever falleth not down and worships shall be cast into a burning fiery furnace." At the sound of this proclamation, whispers of dissent traveled among the crowd. 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, stood resolutely amidst the throng, a light shining in the encroaching darkness. They were men of integrity and unwavering faith, chosen by God to serve in the court of a foreign king. Their hearts remained steadfast, anchored in the knowledge that their allegiance belonged solely to the Most High God. In the days that followed, the music reverberated throughout the land, and the people, driven by fear, fell to their knees before the golden statue. Yet, in the midst of this great throng, the 3 Hebrews remained standing, unyielding in their commitment to the eternal God. Their refusal to bow stirred the wrath of the king, and soon word reached Nebuchadnezzar, who summoned them with a fury that crackled like the flames he had threatened. "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he demanded, "that ye do not serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up?" His voice trembled with a mixture of rage and disbelief, for he had admired their resolve until this moment of rebellion. They responded with unwavering resolve. "O Nebuchadnezzar," they said, "we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up." A silence fell over the court, as the force of their proclamation reverberated through the hearts of the gathering. The king's countenance darkened, his rage ignited like the flames. He commanded, "Heat the furnace." He commanded, 7 times more than it is wont to be heated. As the soldiers carried forth the gruesome order, the faith of the 3 young men remained unshaken. They were acutely aware of the challenge, yet deep within them resided the peace of the living God, the knowledge that he would either deliver them from death or deliver them through it. Truly, they proclaimed to one another with compassionate courage, "The Lord is our help and our shield." Their voices, though hushed, were buoyed by the fervor of their faith. As they were bound and dragged forth toward the fiery furnace, the heavens watched in solemn anticipation, for the stage was being set for a greater revelation. What would unfold in the flames would not only test the resolve of these faithful men but would also illuminate the unchanging nature of God, a narrative that echoed through the ages. In this moment, a divine suspense began to weave itself through the fabric of history. For the Most High, whose ways are beyond comprehension, was poised to reveal not only himself as a deliverer but also to demonstrate that among the flames of tribulation, his presence brings salvation. What miraculous acts lay ahead in the furnace? The story of God's unwavering faithfulness was about to reach a pivotal point, as the King of Kings stepped into the fire to reveal his glory to a world blinded by idol worship. The saga of Nebuchadnezzar was far from over, and God's sovereign plan was unfolding with a brilliance destined to echo throughout eternity. Now came the appointed time for the fulfillment of God's promises. In the very hour of trial, as the furnace roared with a rage that defied reason, the hearts of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained resolute, anchored in the unfailing love of Yahweh. They understood that faith could not be undone by the heat of the flames nor the decree of an earthly king. Thus, they were cast into the fiery furnace, bound yet defiant, their resolve unwavering as they surrendered their fates into the hands of the Almighty. Simultaneously, King Nebuchadnezzar waited, his pulse racing with the fire he had ignited within them, but little did he know that he too was about to be consumed not by flames, but by the divine revelation of God's power. The flames blazed hotter than ever, so intense that even the bravest soldiers who cast the faithful men into the inferno were instantly consumed by the heat. Yet, amidst the crackling embers and swirling smoke, a miraculous sight soon unfolded in the swirling chaos. The king, peering into the furnace as if entranced, gasped with astonishment as he beheld not 3, but 4 men walking unharmed in the fury of the fire. The fourth appeared to be like the Son of God, radiant and powerful. He stepped into the sorrow of humanity, into their trial, embodying hope and divine assurance. "What is this?" Nebuchadnezzar cried out, his voice echoing with awe and wonder. "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? Behold, I see 4 men unhurt, and the form of the fourth is like a divine being." In that moment, the king was drawn into a profound revelation, witnessing the tangible reality of God's saving power. "Servants of the Most High God, come out." The king commanded, his voice now trembling with reverence. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah emerged from the fire, and as they stepped forth, the air held its breath. Their garments were not singed, nor was the smell of smoke upon them. They stood triumphant, for the hand of the Almighty had shielded them. Their faith had endured the flames, and their deliverance bore witness to the power of God over all circumstances. In the silence that followed, the king rose from his throne, a humble admission dawning upon his heart. "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he declared in awe, "who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him." The fear of the Lord filled the palace, for in this moment, Nebuchadnezzar recognized the sovereign authority of the God of Israel. Inspired by their faith and transformed by his encounter with the living God, the king issued a decree across his kingdom, invoking a reverence for the Lord. "No one shall speak against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, for there is no other God who can deliver like this." Thus, God's power was proclaimed throughout the land, and many began to turn their hearts towards the God who saves. And so, the hearts of the people softened, faith began to sprout among the people of Babylon, who had once worshipped lifeless idols. Amidst the ashes of pride, the seeds of God's truth began to take root, revealing a tapestry of divine grace that would entwine through generations. In the days that followed, the king's heart continued to stir, awakening him to the reality of a divine kingdom. As he pondered the mysteries, he found himself torn between pride and surrender. "What must I do to truly serve the God of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego?" he questioned inwardly, yearning for a deeper understanding, a transformation that stretched beyond a single decree. The faithful trio did not waver, they remained steadfast in guiding him toward truth, lifting him up to recognize the sovereignty of the God who reigns. They shared the stories of creation, of deliverance, and of promises fulfilled. The love of God began to envelop King Nebuchadnezzar, and slowly, his heart softened, embracing the one who would bring salvation not just for his people, but for the nations. As he released the grip of earthly power, embracing humility, Nebuchadnezzar experienced a celestial awakening. He recognized that kingdoms erected on pride would crumble, while a kingdom built on faith would stand forever. Amidst the glories of Babylon, the true glory of God began to shine forth, illuminating the path for souls weary and lost in the darkness. God's plan was unfolding, eternal and perfect, weaving through human triumphs and trials, transforming hearts for generations to come. The legacy of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, forever etched in history, served as a testament to faith that defies darkness and a God who is faithful even through the fiery trials of life. As we reflect on this powerful testimony, let us acknowledge God's hand at work among us today. If you feel His presence stirring in your heart, now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss another powerful biblical story that can transform lives. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm, allowing His truths to reach those who desperately need hope amid trials. Comment below your spiritual reflections and share how this biblical story has impacted your faith journey. Your testimony can inspire others. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content through these actions to reach more souls for Christ. Every effort counts in the divine calling to spread the good news.